Oh, now we are live. I love technology. It is just beautiful. Good evening, everybody, and how are you? Reverend Janet Reynolds here, and Blue Feather is my guide. I'm very happy to be here tonight. And it's also called Welcome to Insight with Blue Feather. And please know, Blue Feather's been with me for quite a while, and I am a spirit medium, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have a very, very good friend tonight that's going to be my guest. So, that and to let you know who that is, it's going to be Kandi Mullen, and she is a Reiki Master. And let me tell you a little bit about her real quick. Like, she's an empowerment coach, she's a wellness consultant, and she's the owner of Reiki for Wellbeing. Uh, Kandi completed her Reiki Master training in 2009, and through her personal commitment to daily practice, was inspired to become a professional Reiki practitioner and educator. So that's just part of what Kandi is about. But the main thing is she is a Reiki healer. I also have a degree in Reiki healing, but I prefer to do readings. And speaking of that, if anybody has a question tonight, please call 813-814-1601. And then just please know, if you ever have any questions, you can go to www.bluefeather.net. And we're now off and running. Hello, Kandi.
Hi, Janet. Thank you. It's nice to be here with you tonight.
I'm just getting ready to say it's so nice to see you. And how was your day?
I had a good day today.
Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, it was a nice day.
I had a good day also. Well, now I have just let them know that you are a Reiki teacher and wellness consultant. But why don't you, just for right now, before I ask you 150 questions, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you?
Okay, great. Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be with you here tonight. So in 2009, I was transitioning, ready to make a change, looking to do something different, was feeling that there's something more, something else I need to be doing. And it came at a time where I was an independent contractor for a healthcare company, and it was coming to an end, the contract, because they were acquired by another company. So one day, randomly out of the blue, I received an email and it had information about a Reiki class. And I thought, well, why do I want to do this? And I heard that little voice or that little nudge inside of me saying, don't question it, just do it. So I took my first Reiki class in January of 2009. And I knew during the class, pretty much, I really felt as though that may be the direction that I want to head in. I wanted to help others. I wanted to empower other people to take better care of themselves or have a way when they're not feeling good to care for themselves. So I continued with the training. I practiced daily because Reiki practice is the foundation of it is for self-care, which a lot of people don't realize that. So through my own personal practice commitment, I was very inspired to go on, take the Reiki 2 or level 2 training, which we refer to as distant healing. And eventually later in that year, I completed my Reiki Master training, which gave me the ability to teach others how to practice. So that same year, I opened up my private practice, and this was in Atlanta, Georgia. And in 2010, I taught my first Reiki class, and I have been practicing ever since. I
Oh,
love empowering people to take better care of themselves and watch transformations within their lives. It's very transformative.
it's most important for all of us to really take care of ourselves. And especially when we get a little bit older, I can say. Because the body does need healing in a lot of ways sometimes. It really does. And when things are really, really stressful, like they are today with the COVID-19 and all, I feel that Reiki healing is really very important, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's a way to become very quiet,
Mm-hmm.
um, to release the distractions from everything that's coming at us from so many different angles,
Mm-hmm.
and just to kind of drop in within. So, with all the chaos occurring without on the outer and our outer world, this gives us an opportunity to go into our inner world and become quiet. Much like a meditation, but
Yes.
it's much easier than meditation. Actually, Reiki practice emerged out of a meditation retreat. So it just gives us a way to become quiet and release and let go and help with any anxiety because it's a balancing practice. And
Mm-hmm.
that means it engages our system to balance itself. And
Mm-hmm.
when the body is in a balanced state, self healing is optimized. The
Right.
body can't heal if it's stressed or if it's under a lot has is experiencing a lot of anxiety because
No,
anxiety is stress.
it eats at us, is what it
Yeah,
does, the stress. And that makes it bad for the body, correct?
absolutely. In a
Yeah.
stressed state, that means you're in the fight or flight state,
Mm-hmm.
and the body can't heal in that state.
Mm. Okay.
Anxiety and pain, the body can't heal because it's stressful.
Right.
So if we help the body to restore balance, then the body can begin the healing process.
Right. And I agree with you on that. So now, can you, I know some of it you already have explained, but can you explain a little bit more for us what Reiki is? I know you have said some, but please say more.
Well, number one, it's a spiritual practice. It's pretty simple, and then people kind of go, well, then how does the healing occur? It's balancing, and a balanced system can begin, or self healing is optimized.
Mm-hmm.
So when one practices Reiki for self care or self practice, naturally certain things are going to start falling away. If you have a
Mm-hmm.
headache, the headache could go away. You're experiencing pain, it can be diminished.
Mm-hmm.
And you can self-apply Reiki, or you can visit a Reiki practitioner and have a
Mm-hmm.
Reiki session. So
Right.
it's really simple. It's hand placements. It's a series
Mm-hmm.
of hand placements, and I generally like to start at the crown of the head and
Mm-hmm.
work my way down, and I follow the endocrine system. So
Right.
whether I'm applying Reiki for self-practice, which I do every day,
Mm-hmm.
I practice 32 minutes to an hour daily,
Mm-hmm.
and the benefits are just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
It's cumulative. So the more work that you put into practicing, the better you're going to feel because each session is going to build off of the previous one.
Yes. Well, there's one thing that I am doing every day. And I do have Reiki 3. I do have the certificate for that. I do. But I am balancing out my chakras every day. But what I'm doing now, because I have an issue with my eye, my left eye, so I am now doing Reiki on my left eye. And I am saying my eye is healed. But what
There
I
you go.
do is I rub my hands and I get them really warm, and then I put that over my left eye, and then I say, my eye is healed. So that's part of what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, it's just placing your hands. It's really simple. And oftentimes we don't even need to say anything, but the body will respond if we do say, I'm healthy, I'm healed, I'm whole, I'm well.
Yes.
When thinking about Reiki, a really good way of putting it is you're walking along and you bang your elbow on the wall.
Mhm.
What's one of the first things that we do? We grab it, right? We grab it because is that a cat?
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So one of the first things we do is we grab it because why do we grab it? Because it is comforting. it starts to feel better and it's warm. So
Right.
you mentioned about rubbing your hands. You don't even need to rub your hands because oftentimes your hands will start to begin to heat up anyway once you apply. The other day I did a quick demo. I spoke with 35 or 40 doctors at a family practice here in Clearwater,
Uh-huh.
and I did a demo for one of the doctors, and she said as she was sitting there, your hand, and I wasn't even touching her. She said, your hands are really warm. I can feel them. And that's the beauty with practice as well, is even though we're in this time of COVID, so touch is really out of the question, you don't
Right.
have to touch the person. You can just have your hands, a few inches above the individual or a few inches above the body.
Right. See,
So,
now, when I, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry. When I was taught, um, um, I also was taught to rub my hands and put the heat over my eyes. So, but what I want to say to you is, I have been taught that, and I think it's been about 20 years ago. So I don't know that there's been any changes, but I do things sometimes a little bit different. But that's okay, right?
well, here's the thing is there is no standardized training.
Thank you.
So it's very possible that you and I, there was differences in the Reiki masters that taught us, their understanding of the practice may be a little bit different. So we
That
might
was
not
good.
have, it may not be apples to apples
Oh,
in
that
our
was good,
training.
Candy. That was good. I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because of who I learned it from then versus who's teaching it today. So, but the good thing is as long as our results are the same, that's what counts, right? So then let me ask you this. Can you share with us what the origin of Reiki and a little bit about the history?
Sure. So the practice itself originated in Japan by a gentleman by the name of Mikao Usui. And Mikao Usui was a spiritual seeker. He was on a pretty intense meditation retreat when the practice emerged out of his meditation retreat.
Mhm.
And so this was back in 1922. So he started to travel around Japan, teaching others, lecturing about Reiki, and sharing Reiki sessions with others. One of his students was Chujiro Hayashi, and Chujiro Hayashi was really interested in exploring how some people might not have a real spiritual desire, but rather we're looking for ways to better take care of themselves. So
Mhm.
he was interested in more of how could others apply Reiki and benefit from more of a medical standpoint. So he refined the hand placements or hand protocols, and that's how we know Reiki today is by applying our hands. And one of Hayashi's students was Hawaii Takada, who is actually the one credited for bringing Reiki to the Western world. Now, Mrs. Takada, she was first generation Japanese American born in Hawaii, and she actually had a number of illnesses, was a pretty sick woman. She was traveling in Japan when she learned of Hayashi's Reiki clinic in Tokyo. And so she decided to check herself in. And after 4 months, her health was completely restored. So she knew that, or she understood that if she returned to Hawaii without learning to practice, her health would deteriorate again. So she was accepted into level 1 training under Hayashi, trained for a year, then trained in the Reiki 2 practice, and then returned to Hawaii in 1936. So the practice really emerged from the origin is from Japan. Mrs. Takada is who we give credit to here in North America for bringing it to the Western world. And between the years of 1970 and 1980, Mrs. Takada taught 22 Reiki masters.
Oh, wow.
Now, going back to Mrs. Takada, she was the very first Reiki master outside of Japan, the very first one.
Mhm.
So her 22 Reiki masters that she's taught here in Canada and the United States, um, the practice evolved from that point on. And Mrs. Takata died in 1980. So
Oh,
so it's very possible that, and some of the Reiki masters sort of took on a little bit of a different life of the practice in the way that they felt that they wanted to share it with others, and altered it and made some changes to the practice than the way that it initially came to the Western world.
Oh, oh, that was good. That was very interesting to know. So thank you for sharing that part of it, girl. Okay, so now let me
Absolutely.
ask you something, please. What does a Reiki session look like? I mean, I know, and I did do Reiki healing in the churches, and we're going back about 10 years ago. So I know what a Reiki session looks like, but probably not everybody else knows what it looks like. So could you tell us, please, or show us?
Sure. So a session's facilitated. It can be through a very light touch. It's non-invasive. There's no tissue or muscle mass manipulation. Or as I mentioned earlier, the hands can be a few inches above the body, and they're equally as effective.
But show us
The
how you do it when you say above the body. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh, so like
interrupt.
let's say I'm at the crown, maybe just
Mm-hmm.
like this, a few
Mm-hmm.
inches,
Okay.
or it can be on the body.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Okay.
And the recipient is fully clothed, and they can either be seated or lying on a standard treatment table.
Mm-hmm.
A session can be anywhere between, in a professional setting, perhaps with a Reiki professional, or in a spa, anywhere between 45 and 75 minutes. If it's in a healthcare setting, it might be 5 to 20 minutes. It just depends on the application. If the recipient is lying on the massage table, I generally have them lying on their back, starting on their back. I place my hands in 8 hand placements, and then I have, if the recipient has the ability to lie on their stomach, then I place my hands on 4 placements on their back.
Oh, I know that you did a healing on me, and I just want you to know I'm probably due for another one, but it's really beautiful because it really calmed my body down. I can because I'm can be extremely high strung individual, hyper, as they
Yeah.
say. Yes,
No, you, Janet.
yes, just a little bit, just a little bit. So when you did that for me, it was beautiful. It really was. It was a nice feeling. So I should have it done more often, but that's what I try to do in the mornings to balance me out for my day because with everything that's going on around us, it's really, I feel, a challenge to stay calm. So now tell tell the people about distant healing, Kandi, because distant healing can do a lot too. Isn't that correct?
Oh, absolutely. For a lot of people have a really hard time getting their mind wrapped around the thought of, what? We're not going to be in the same room together? No, we don't need to be. But it's equally as effective. So if the person is maybe in another city, or, due to travel constraints, or they have medical conditions, maybe it's a family member or loved one or a friend in another state, another country, or a client. I work with clients all over the country. We just don't need to be there. It's a different method, the way that we share the practice. So when we're together with the person, we're using the hands-on, just either slightly above the body or touching the body. And in the distant healing, we focus more on the mind. And there's a couple different methods that we can use to set up the session. So it's equally as effective, but it's just as powerful or subtle. It can be oftentimes very profound. If somebody has a more acute situation or acute symptom, they may
Mm-hmm.
have a more dramatic or profound experience to somebody that it's, let's say, maybe a little healthier, and they don't have as much going on. They may not notice quite as the profound experience, but they receive benefit because it's relaxing.
Oh gosh, yes, it's very relaxing. That would be a good way to say it. Very relaxing. So, with everything that you explained so far, it's all really, really good. But let them know how, and you've already said this and sometimes some in what you've been saying, how it is beneficial for an individual to get a Reiki healing.
So there's a number of known benefits that Reiki practice can um, offer or be beneficial to an individual. Just as I mentioned earlier about anxiety and pain, when the body's in anxiety or is experiencing anxiety or it has pain, it's difficult for the body to heal. It can't because that's a stressed state, right? We're in that sympathetic nervous system, predominant sympathetic nervous system. So the body can't heal itself. So once we apply Reiki, the system begins to balance itself and it like I mentioned, self-healing is optimized. So rest, relaxing improves digestion, sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and rest. It can improve blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
It is very beneficial if you have a wound or a cut of some sort or an injury. It
Mm-hmm.
can speed the healing up from something like that, a wound or an injury. As I mentioned, it can help improve sleep, reduces stress, anxiety. But some of the other things that maybe aren't always or as common, people don't even realize that it can, surgeons are starting to notice that they're or have been noticing for some time. If they receive Reiki before surgery, perhaps even during surgery, that they heal quicker. So the response from surgery can be very beneficial or improved um, it, from one that perhaps didn't receive Reiki. So there
Right.
really are a wide variety of conditions that can support an individual by applying Reiki, whether it's from a practitioner or self Reiki. The the 2 that we see a lot and a lot of studies around especially are anxiety and pain.
Mm-hmm. Well, anxiety, especially today. But hospice. I worked for hospice a couple years back. It's it's been more than a couple years, but one of the girls, Helen, that I knew very well, was a Reiki healer there, and hospice was introducing Reiki healing at that time. And I have not been back for a couple years, but I'm sure that they are still doing it. But the one thing that I like about Reiki healing, and you really have to trust that they are healing you. You really do, I feel. And when I do my Reiki healing on my eye, what I want them to do is to get rid of the scar tissue. There's scar tissue there.
Mm.
So I'm sort of like in the middle of my eye. I can only see around my eye. So
Mm.
so I am telling them to get rid of the scar tissue. So that's why I keep saying I am healed.
Yeah.
But many people are going to Reiki healing more so than usual. I feel. Is that correct in saying?
Yeah, let me address a little bit about the hospice because there are volunteers at hospice that
Okay.
offer Reiki because when conventional medicine no longer can help a patient, Reiki relieves their suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So and oftentimes the volunteers in the hospice, Suncoast, they have volunteers, and it's not unusual for somebody to reach out to me and say that I'd love to take your class because I want to be able to volunteer and offer Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the volunteers not only offer it to the patients, they also offer it to their family members as well. So it has tremendous amount of benefit to help people relieve their suffering when they're at that, end of life or end stage of life there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's good to know. That really is. So then my next question to you would be, why would someone schedule a session? I know why I would, but why would someone else?
For, like I said, a variety of reasons. They need to rest, they need to relax. They're looking for a way to address their anxiety, they're looking for a way to address their pain. Um, they need clarity. So, this is I've had individuals that have scheduled time with me. I had one gentleman that was my client in Atlanta, and he said anytime, well, he was a VP of sales for the organization that he worked for. And he said anytime that he needed to make a large or had a big decision to make, he would come to me for clarity.
Oh,
So,
there you go.
yeah. So we can once we become clearer and we're feeling better, we make better choices.
Yeah.
and we can see things better too. So for clarity, a variety of reasons. I've had Army personnel come back from Afghanistan that have had sessions with me, and they've been able to make some pretty big decisions after a few sessions. They've had major releases, things that they just couldn't release or let go of until after having a Reiki session, and it just allowed them that opportunity to let it go.
Yeah, and that's very important. So then, let me ask you this, please. How often should someone receive a Reiki session?
Well, if there's something someone's trying to address, generally 4 sessions as close together as possible.
Mhm.
And the reason being is they're cumulative, they build off of one another. So as the body restores balance, we want to keep it in that balanced state so the healing can continue, right? Self healing is optimized.
Mhm.
And then after 4 sessions, I leave it entirely. It's entirely up to the client where they feel they want to continue, or some people want to continue for once a week, some people as needed. It just really all depends. But I would initially suggest 4 sessions if there is something they are trying to address.
Okay. Now, the fact that I'm doing healing on my eye every day, it's okay that I do that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Don't stop. Keep on going. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely want to.
Just to be funny, when I tell you that I balance out my chakras every day, because I know you know that. And I know not everybody knows everything about chakras, but chakras are your energy centers, which help your body also to balance them out. And I have a way of doing that. I did not do it the other day, and I've been doing it for ages. And I want you to know there is a difference when you heal your body and when you don't, or when you center your body and when you don't. It's just a big difference. I just feel healing one way or another on the body is good. Can you say that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, when we feel really good, we make better decisions. We're
Right.
clearer, we have more clarity, we sleep better, um, we can minimize pain, maybe we have less headaches or not as frequent because the body's in that state of balance where we want it to be. We don't want it to be in the fight or flight state.
Well, see, I was in fight or flight because I didn't balance out. I really didn't. I can tell the difference. I just think it's unique how we can do certain things every day and it can make a big difference in our day. Okay. Now, where would you find Reiki being offered?
Well, it's a variety of places. You could find Reiki in a spa, from a Reiki a professional. It may be offered in a hospital, as we know in hospice, um, a variety of settings. It's pretty adaptable, especially if you learn how to practice, then you have it available. It's a lifetime of benefit. Once you learn, you have it for a lifetime, it never leaves you. So, but you can certainly reach out and find a professional, a Reiki professional, and schedule time with them. Or did you say learn?
No, I said, where would you find Reiki
Okay.
being offered?
Yeah, yeah, you can it's offered, in a lot of spas are offering it today. You can find on the internet local Reiki professionals, practitioners.
Do you go to
And
people's homes or where do you have a particular place that you go?
if I'm doing the in-person Reiki, it would be in Pinellas Park, my office in Pinellas Park, but I'm only doing right now the distant work.
Oh,
So
okay.
people find my website, they go to my website and they'll schedule time with me, or they'll call me, or they find me through Google or Facebook.
That's where I was going with that. So thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
And
Yes.
and I do wanna just mention there's, do we need to take a minute?
Go ahead.
No, do we need to take a minute?
I'm not so far that I know. At least I don't see it.
Okay, okay. Uh,
Okay. I don't think so. She said
So
it was a link, right?
there's 3 levels of Reiki practice that one can learn. So the first level being the hands-on, the second being the distant, and then the third level being the Reiki Master. So if you wanted to teach, if one wanted to teach another. So for most people, the only uh, level they really need to learn is Reiki 1, and that opens them up. Once they are initiated in the practice, that opens them up to begin self practice, and then they can eventually share with another. And anybody can receive Reiki, regardless of age or state of health. So the oldest person I taught how to practice was 87, and my youngest student has been 12. But we are finding.
No. Okay, I thought that was someone. I have my phone here. I'm sorry, but that is not, because they do call with a question, but that is not a question.
Okay. All right, great.
That's a spam call. I'm sorry, Kandi, but we do have to have the phone here for that.
That's fine. So the 3 levels, and like I said, for most people, all they need is the first level. That's where we all begin. Training can be anywhere between 7 and 12 hours. I highly suggest anybody that's interested in being trained to practice, find a qualified Reiki practitioner. The classes are not regulated, so they can vary widely depending on that in Reiki Master's understanding of the practice. But like I said, the second level, probably 5 to 8 hours of training, and the third level is ongoing. A couple of days of training and then ongoing mentoring with your Reiki master.
Okay.
But for most of us, for most people, they just need, if they wanted to have a way to care for themselves, the first level is really ideal. And doing their personal practice work is important, because that's where you'll have your understanding of what Reiki really is all about, doing your personal practice work.
Right. And you know what? Here's another good question to ask you, please. Is Reiki safe, and are there any reasons why someone should not receive Reiki?
Reiki is, very safe. I can't give somebody too much Reiki because there's nothing I'm giving them. They're not ingesting anything or nothing's being administered, so it's a very safe practice. And I would say Reiki is a complementary practice. I hear people refer to it as an alternative practice, but Reiki doesn't replace conventional medicine. It can safely combine with conventional medicine, alternative medicine, even traditional medicine. But it is a complementary practice that can support support anybody's, whatever they may be treated through their care team or their medical team. It can support what they're doing from that standpoint. It can help improve outcomes, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's good to know. And then, like, what I would like to ask you, well, you just said that, though. You can't give someone too much Reiki, right?
No, because there's nothing I'm giving them. There's nothing to give.
You're giving them energy.
They're pulling it from around them. See, my understanding is a little bit different. They're pulling from the field around them already, and I am there to facilitate the session for them, to hold that space.
Okay, I understand that. So now you teach others to practice Reiki. So I'd like to know, why would someone want to practice Reiki?
For self-care, a way to treat themselves, a way to balance their system, a way to feel calmer, more grounded, more centered, maybe to start their day with a very calm, centered space.
That's a good word.
Yeah. They want to have a way to quickly relieve whatever is going on around them. So if they're having, to sort of hit the reset button, or just to take the edge off of whatever they're experiencing, because Reiki can be applied anytime, anywhere, any day, because it's so easy. You don't need anything to do it. You don't need to hold something or have some sort of a device. You just place your hands, and you can be very inconspicuous. So that's why one would want to learn how to practice. And it's, I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
a lifetime of benefits. You have it with you for a lifetime. And you fall and you injure yourself, you grab the area, you hold it, and would be surprised at how quickly the area will heal.
Yes, and I'm sure of that. So now, what I'd like to know though, once everybody, or when we learn it, when you go through the 3 degrees, when are they ready to begin practicing?
Well, that depends on what they want to do. So if they're self-practice or they want to open it up and offer it to others, sometime after that they've been doing their own personal practice work after the Reiki 1 class. So that when they receive their initiation in Reiki 1 or first degree Reiki, do some personal practice work and then start offering it to others. And they can also offer it to pets and animals. I work with cats, dogs, and I've worked with a couple horses.
I know you can do Reiki healing on animals, and I do. I know of 1 or 2 incidences that a friend of mine with her dog, that the Reiki really, really helped that dog. I'm telling you. But I believe so much in all of this. I really do, and I believe also when you're learning Reiki, or were you to be doing it on yourself, you have to trust and believe that it will work, right?
No, the recipient doesn't have to have a belief in it. The only thing they need is an open mind.
Oh,
They don't even need to believe in it. They just need an open mind and give you permission to do the healing work or to offer the Reiki. Just, we don't want to violate anybody's free will and do something that somebody just doesn't want.
okay, all right.
There's some people that don't want it, and we have to honor that. They don't want to receive it.
Right. They don't want to receive it. Right. I understand that. Then they don't call you, right? If they don't want to receive it. So, how often do you teach your classes, and where can someone find information about the classes that you offer?
So through my website, if they do a search, Reiki in Pinellas Park or Reiki in Clearwater or Reiki, they eventually can find Reiki for Wellbeing information. I have a Google business page or Facebook. That's generally how they come to me. But I'd say, or referrals. I get a lot of referrals too. But I would say that a lot of people find me on Google. That's what they say. Found you on the internet. Found you on Google. I Googled you. You came up, so I called you.
Oh, okay. See? Okay, so are there any studies that have been published in peer reviewed medical journals regarding Reiki?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That actually, a study in 2010 was published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, and the study was conducted at Yale New Haven Hospital, and it showed that significantly improved heart rate variability and anxiety over the 2 control groups of resting and music. So that was pretty significant. There are other abstracts and other articles that are in listed in PubMed, which PubMed, the medical community understands what that is, but they're finding that Reiki is better than placebo, and there's wide use that they believe Reiki could be very beneficial for. So you've got a lot of that Reiki and applying Reiki while somebody's undergoing conventional medicine, such as chemotherapy. There's information about how Reiki is very beneficial and can help when somebody is going through receiving chemotherapy, that it can help to help with that nauseous feeling and be very relaxing and help with depression. It also helps with depression and PTSD. Finding it in the VA hospitals are offering it. And as I mentioned, I have worked with individuals that have come back from Afghanistan, and they have found quite a bit of benefit in receiving Reiki. So back to your question, yes, there has been some studies. Those were a couple that were off the top of my head. There's more studies that need to be done around Reiki, and I imagine at some point we'll have more information about it as it continues to become more and more popular. I mean, it's really is getting into making its way through mainstream healthcare, and it's being more widely accepted in hospitals. Now, some have been offering it since the mid 90s in what they used to call their CAM program. Now it's integrated medicine, of course. But a lot of prestigious hospitals offer it, such as MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas, Memorial Sloan Kettering, New York Presbyterian, New York, Brigham and Women's in Massachusetts. There are a few off the Yale New Haven. There's just a few off of the top of my head.
Well, you had an awful lot of information stored in the top of your head, girl.
Well, I better. I talk about it enough.
It's all good. So we are close to ending, and I think we only have about 3 minutes left to our show. So what I would like to do is to call Kandi, Cece in and see if she has any questions that you could possibly answer for her. Cece, are you around?
Hey, how are you guys doing tonight?
Hi.
We're doing good. Were we supposed to take a break?
Well, we were, but that's okay. No worries on that. So don't worry about it.
Did I miss the cue?
You did, but that's okay. Well, you know what? I find this very interesting because I think especially, Kandi, since we're going through all that we're going through now with the COVID, and I'm very fascinated with the fact that you can do it, distant. So could you give me an example, just a very brief example, how you would start out your initial phone call? How do you start that?
Sure, absolutely. It's a few minutes just to make sure that the client is ready to go. I ask them to be in a nice, quiet room. If their pets are usually calm, they can be in there with them. Otherwise, to keep them in another room. Everything turned off. I just kind of give them a cue. You're not going to clear your mind, but busy thoughts, just release them. Not now, not now. Let them go. Try to relax. I'm not on the phone with them during the session, but I just ask that they have a blanket and water and tissues for them, ready and available for them to lie down. And then I hang up. I do what I do, and then I call them, 10 minutes before, I do a full hour and give them an opportunity to talk about their experience, and I help them understand maybe something that might have come up or they felt, or, just to help them understand how they're feeling. And then if I have any further information, I share that with them. So it may seem a little, I don't know about that, but usually after the person has a session, they are much more comfortable. They're like, wow, I could either feel something, or I felt so much more relaxed. I felt really heavy. My body felt heavy. My legs felt heavy. And you're not even here with me. How does that happen? But it works. We just don't, we place a lot of limitation around the idea of time, distance, and space, and we just let that go. We don't have to be concerned with having a person right next to us. We really are so much more capable of really reaching out across the timeline or distance or space and helping another individual. It may sound a little different, but
very interesting. So what do you do on your side? So let's say we've done the start at the beginning. I lay down and then we disconnect. Just give me just a couple seconds of what you would do, what you're doing on your side when the phone is off.
So my focus, I use my mind to focus on the individual, and I can do that a couple of different methods to set it up. So there's a little process, a little ritual that I do. We use these symbols to set it up, and these symbols are what Mikao Usui, when the practice emerged during his meditation retreat, this is what came to him. So we use that to set up the distant healing. And then I use my mind.
Very, very fascinating. Well, I really do, honor and respect what you do, because I just think that there are so many people out there right now that could use this peacefulness that you're able to, to telepath across the way. And it's really important that we have that, because I mean, even myself, I have felt overwhelmed at times, which I don't normally feel. And it's like, wow, where did this come from? So I can see where people would definitely need your services. So let's put it up again here, so everyone can get it. And so it's Kandi Mullen. That's Kandi Mullen, Mullen. And then our website, everyone, it's Reiki4Wellbeing.com. So that's REIKI 4, well, WELL, and then being, BEING.com. Her, if you guys want to email her, maybe set up a time or something that you can talk to her. Her email is Kandi, Kandi, at Reiki, again, which is REIKI, 4Wellbeing.com. So please contact her. We want to make sure, I mean, everyone thinks it's a little funny that we spell it all out, but we go on the radio, and so they can't see it. So we want to make sure that everyone has that information. Well, gosh, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can think of. Janet, can you think of anything?
No, but I really enjoyed all the information you gave us tonight, Kandi. So thank you very, very much.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. I want to say one thing, and we all, because we live here in Florida, understand this. Think about all the people that pray for us when a hurricane's coming in.
Right.
So while Reiki, we don't pray, it's sort of the same thing. A lot of these people aren't in the area. Their family or friends across the country, or maybe, wherever they are located. And it's, going across time, space, and distance.
Right.
And oftentimes we can say, people say, oh, it worked, look at that, or a healing has occurred, or something like that. So again, I'm not praying, there's no chanting, but kind of think about it in those terms, and that might help a little bit, going, yeah, right, okay, I think I sort of kind of understand it.
Yeah, that mind and space, that space is definitely important, and we don't always value that, I think, as we're doing things, and we have that deja vu moment, things like that. It's because that time and space again that we've experienced something, and of course that's the feeling. So Reiki, I think, is definitely something that people should look at as a way of maybe alternative to drugs, if possible, and like you said, going side by side with your medical health, which would be great. So yeah. So any other last words then?
I am good. I just thank you, Cece, and thank you, Kandi.
Yes, thank you, Cece. It was nice to meet you, and Janet. It was such a pleasure to be here tonight. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out or schedule time or take a class. I got a class coming up August 16th through the 18th, level 1.
Yes, and it's right there on your website. I saw that right there on your website. So definitely they can get in contact with you. And also you have on your website, you have like a free session, right? A free introductory type of session. Am I correct?
It's a consultation, so I can go through a couple of things if there's other things that people want to address from their things are shifting or changing, or they'll say, I don't know about this. Something's changing, something's different. I'm starting to open up. I help them understand what's happening around them, and then from a wellness standpoint, I help people to make some significant lifestyle changes so they start feeling better. So yeah, I do a consultation, and I give them an exercise just to see if we're a good match for one another.
Yeah, that's great. Well, again, your website right there, reikiforwellbeing.com. And we're going to have to close out the show. But thank you so much. It's been a delight to have you here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are a radio, TV, and podcast station. We're the #1 internet singles talk network. And you guys, if you don't know it, you are on the Insight with Blue Feather show with our wonderful host, Reverend Janet M. Reynolds. She's a psychic, a medium, and her website is bluefeather.net. Again, that's BLUEFEATHER.net. You guys ever want to give her a call? She can schedule a reading for you. Her phone number is 813-814-1601. So it's been a delight. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Cece.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful night.
All right, we'll see you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.